So there may come a time when loved ones or ourselves, they may need more assistance than we can provide. And that assistance can come in the form of being monetary. We may need to tap into supplemental Social Security, Medicaid, things like that, if a loved one or ourselves have been diagnosed with a serious disability, illness, or injury. And these government programs are often what is called means tested, which means that they take our income as well as our net worth and our assets into account before you're able to qualify. So today we're going to talk about the benefits of special needs trusts. What are they? What's it used for? The two types of special needs trusts, well, three types really, and how they can potentially benefit folks who are helping to care for a loved one of themselves who has a serious illness or has been diagnosed with a serious illness or disability. So let's go ahead and get started, and I hope that this helps. So a special needs trust is a legal tool that can provide income and resources for folks who have been diagnosed with a physical, mental disability or has a chronic illness, and it does not jeopardize their eligibility for these programs. So let me run through a quick example here. Grandpa Joe, it's called Grandpa Joe, wishes to leave funds for his grandson Jake, who has been diagnosed with autism. However, with careful financial planning and working with an estate planning attorney, we all know that we don't want to jeopardize any government benefits that Jake may be entitled to. So Grandpa Joe would be what's known as the grantor, and he would fund a special needs trust for the benefit of the beneficiary, in this case, which would be Jake. He can fund the trust with an IRA and other investment accounts. It could be cash, it could be tax-free life insurance. There's other avenues and ways that he can fund that trust. So once it's funded for Jake, he needs to then appoint a trustee that oversees the trust and acts as a fiduciary for Jake. The fiduciary responsibilities, I did a whole nother video. We can include that in the link. And it can be done by a family member. Oftentimes it's the parents. So in this example, it might be Jake's parents, but you can also have a professional trustee. That could be done sometimes through a bank or financial institution. But really, the key there is special consideration really needs to get paid close attention to when you're choosing a trustee. So we're going to throw up on the screen here an image that fantastically kind of highlights how this works. Where the property is transferred from by the grantor, who the trustee is, the advocate who's the guardian, and the beneficiary, and then any remainder beneficiaries there towards the end. The trustee will oversee the disbursements according to guidelines for Jake, in our prior example, to supplement the government benefits that Jake's getting and not replace them. So let's talk really quick about what expenses are eligible. And we're going to throw another image up here on the screen. So these allowable expenses are for Jake's medical costs, caregivers, transportation, and generally not covered by the government benefits. So anything not covered by those benefits can be used. So special needs trusts, if we turn our attention to the chart, they can be used to pay for insurance, medical and dental care not covered by SSI, for example, travel, education, recreation, leisure, special equipment, wheelchairs, auditory improvements for deaf, therapy and rehab, electronics. There's a lot of technology nowadays to make folks who've been diagnosed with a disability's lives much easier. Legal and guardianship expenses and burial expenses too. And if you turn your attention to the right, it cannot pay for food and other household essentials, mortgage or rent, because those items that's what's covered by government benefits. And so you can't double up, you can't use the same things. So let's talk about the three types of special needs trusts and then some special considerations, and we'll wrap it up. So the three types of special needs trusts, the first is a third party or supplemental special needs trust. And this is established by a third party. In our example, Grandpa Joe established it for Jake. So that's how it would work. The second is a self-funded special needs trust. This is where the trust beneficiary, the one who's been diagnosed with a disability or illness, funds it themselves, his or herself. And they do that to get assets out of their countable assets or their means, and that way they could qualify for the government benefits. Now, there is a very, very key thing here to talk about, and that is what's called the government look-back period. So you can't just put assets into a special needs trust and the next day go and get government benefits. There's a 60-month look-back period. And the third is pooled, where assets come from multiple sources. So let's wrap it up with some special considerations. I kind of talked a little bit about some of these. But the first is that the special needs trust needs to be irrevocable. So there's revocable trust, there's irrevocable trust. This has to be irrevocable, meaning that the money cannot be taken back. It's done, it's signed, sealed, delivered. That money no longer belongs to the person that funded it. It now belongs to the trust for the benefit of the beneficiary. The time constraint for being a trustee can be high. You have a fiduciary responsibility to that beneficiary, which is why it's so important when doing your due diligence on your trustees. The initial costs can be high to set up a special needs trust, as well as professional trustee fees if you go that route. The benefits can be great, though. There is that look-back period for self-funded special needs trust, which I talked about, which is the 60 months. And money can't be used for housing or food, as we already talked about, because those are already covered for governmental benefits. So you can't double up, which is what it's for. So I hope that this highlighted kind of a good introduction to what special needs trusts are. A good example. If this speaks to you, if you have someone in your life that you're thinking we may need a little bit more assistance on the monetary side than we can provide and take advantage of these government resources, I would highly suggest that you get to a certified financial planner as well as an estate planning attorney. The financial planner can talk about the financial strategy, as well as the estate attorney can draft up the special needs trust according to your needs, and more importantly, really the beneficiary of those resources. I've done when I'm in practice, financial planning practice, I see this quite a lot, and it's becoming more prevalent for grandparents to want to have a wonderful retirement, but then also leave some funds to a grandchild so that they can have the best quality of life that they possibly can, but at the same time not jeopardize any government benefits that Jake in this example would have qualified for. So like I said, good introduction. If you have more questions, let us know. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Be good to yourself and be good to others.